Relational aggression, if done correctly, will shake you. It'll shake your confidence. It'll shake your steadiness, right? It'll have you doubting yourself. And that's what some white women want Black women to experience. I'm going to break you down emotionally. I'm going to break you down psychologically because that's the only tool or weapon that I have. You've got to blend in because you know you're going to be the only little Black girl in that classroom. And the minute you open your mouth, you say too much, you whatever, they're going to notice you and they're going to figure out a way to get you out of there. You've literally been taught not to use your voice.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffee No Cream podcast. My name is Erin Braxton and I am the host of Coffee No Cream. Here on Coffee No Cream, we are unapologetically dedicated to Black women. And we share what I like to call coffee no cream moments, those things that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black women. Today, I have clinical psychologist, Dr. Mel Robinson Brown. She is a great personality, super duper fun, been wanting to get someone in the mental health space for a while, and Dr. Mel does not disappoint. We talked about all the things. We talked about Black women and white women relations and why there seems to be some issues there. We talked about Black women with other Black women. We talked about how to check yourself to make sure that you are the supporting, uplifting Black woman that we know you want to be. We just had a great conversation. Stay around and watch this one. You want to watch it to the end because we get into it. Before we get into it though, guys, I want to ask that you please like, please share, please subscribe. We have a Facebook group. The link is below in the description and the show notes if you're watching on or listening on Spotify. I'm going to ask you guys to leave me comments, talk to me, tell me what you think. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of, all of the things. We also have that free educational resource, coffeenocream.com/free. We've got almost 2,000 free courses from Ivy Leagues, from schools and institutions all over the place that you can get just free by going to coffeenocream.com/free. And I think that's it. So let's get into the episode. So welcome, Dr. Mel. How are you today?
I am doing fabulous. How are you, Erin?
I am really, really good. I'm excited to have you on. I can't wait for my viewers to meet you if they don't know you already. But if they don't know you already, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into your coffee no cream moment.
Absolutely. So my name is Melissa Robinson Brown, but I go by Dr. Mel. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in New York and New Jersey, and I have what's called the PsyPAC designation, which means I can work with people via telehealth in over 40 different states.
Ooh.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's actually opened up my practice in this really amazing way. I have clients in Missouri, in Texas, in Michigan. It's great. I am also, so let me talk about who I work with and then I can tell you some other things very quickly. I work primarily with high achieving women who have checked every box. They're the go-to for everyone, but they feel like something is missing. So that life they built is not feeling so fulfilling. Mm-hmm. So we talk about what's actually missing, what shoulds do we need to let go of, what are the better boundaries that need to be set, and what are the relationships you need to develop so that your life can feel more like your own. Wow. So I'm super excited. That is just, and when you know what you love doing, the people come to you, and that's what I think is amazing. That's the part that's amazing.
True. It's so true. It all starts to work out, right?
It does. It does.
Well, for those of you who are joining us for the first time here on Coffee No Cream, we share what I like to call coffee no cream moments, those things that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black. Now, I'm excited to have somebody in the healthcare space finally on Coffee No Cream, but we want to hear Dr. Mel's coffee no cream moment first because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff to unpack from it just merely by what you do. So, Dr. Mel, please share with us just one, because I'm sure you have many, of your coffee no cream moments.
I think the one that has been pretty transformative for me and hasn't left me was when I was at my old job. I had a colleague, so a peer there that I felt very uncomfortable with. Every time we would get behind closed doors, she would say something very snarky, very passive aggressive. So I went to my bosses. At the time I had like three, majority white, one black man, and I said, I don't feel comfortable having conversations with her anymore behind closed doors. And my white boss looked at me and said, if as an adult you can't have a civilized conversation with another adult, then we have bigger problems. I later learned, because the students reported her, that this woman was calling me a black bitch, incompetent, just there to fill a quota, and telling the students who I was supervising, don't listen to her because anything she says is not valid.
Okay. White woman?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Wow. All right. So the students came back and told you she was calling you an incompetent black bitch.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. They reported her because she was not doing her job. And then when the administration started investigating, they revealed that this is what she had been saying about me behind closed doors. So my discomfort was real.
Okay. So wait a minute. What ended up happening as a result of the investigation?
She was dismissed. So in the academic world, they don't fully fire you. They just don't renew your contract. Mm-hmm. So they allowed her to finish out her contract, and then they didn't renew it. But she was done after that. So
can you expound a little bit and tell us kind of what was going on in these interactions? Tell us what kind of things were happening so we can get a better understanding.
Sure. So she and I had to meet. So I should name, the system also knew. I just want to make sure that we name that. There were two psychologists on staff. She was clearly senior to me. Mm-hmm. But when I started, they intentionally did not make her my supervisor. Mm-hmm. So I reported to somebody else. So they knew that she was a problem. Mm-hmm. But when we would have meetings, because we were the only two psychologists on staff and there was a training program, I would say things like, so what interns and externs am I meeting with? Am I supervising? Why do you think you would supervise any of the interns? I mean, you could have an extern. So let me tell you the difference between an extern and intern, right? An intern is somebody is pre-doctoral. They're about to get their license. They have 1 year of training left. Mm-hmm. An extern is very new in they're probably like a second year student, right? So she kind of was like very flippant. You could have an extern, but there's no reason for you to interact with the interns. But I have to, because that's what the accrediting board says needs to happen. Right. More than one psychologist has to sit with you. Uh-huh. And she would say things like that to me. And then when I would bring it to the admin, they'd be like, okay, we need to go talk to her. Or we would be having a conversation and she would talk about testing reports. And I would say, oh, I could take a look at this testing report. I don't think that's something that you should be doing.
But you didn't report directly into her. She was just...
I did not report directly into her, but I was supposed to be. That was part of my job. Sure. My job description were these things. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that led to us having a joint meeting that my boss said to me, I need to be an adult and have an adult conversation, is there were two teams in our clinic, and each clinician had to be on one of those teams, and then the students were supposed to be evenly distributed to the teams. And so I was the leader of one of the teams, and then another psychiatrist was the leader of a team.
Not
her, because again, they knew. She did not let any of the students be on my team. So I asked her one day in the hallway, and I said, I don't understand why none of the students are on my team. Usually students are evenly distributed across the two teams. It's my program. I decide where I want my students to go, and I don't want any of the students on your team.
So you say?
So I say, that doesn't make sense to me, mm-hmm. and you can't just unilaterally do that. Mm-hmm. I can do what I want. It's my program. I'm not okay with that. Mm-hmm. Well, you can go tell whoever you want. And then so this happened in a hallway.
Okay.
And then after that happened in a hallway is when we had to have this other meeting. But those were the kinds of things where I was like, I no longer want to sit with you behind closed doors, because you're always saying something. You're always questioning my ability, telling me, oh, well, maybe I need to look at your testing reports too. Actually, you don't. I'm independently licensed. I don't need you to look at anything that I do, to be honest.
So let's talk about the person who told you you needed to be able to have an adult conversation. That was a different supervisor. Yeah. Okay.
I was the medical director of the clinic.
Okay. So how did that all wind up? Because I think this is the frustration for a lot of us when, you're dealing with something internally. It's basically a he said, she said situation. Everybody all the way around has bias. Or they don't want to deal with it, or it's uncomfortable for them, or, whatever. So what do you say? What do you do when you have a supervisor that just kind of brushes it under the rug or just basically tells you to deal with it?
I will say it's incredibly frustrating. In that room that day so by the way, I said this thing about needing to have somebody else in the room with me with her present, because we were all in a joint meeting. The response to that was mixed. The medical director was probably the highest level person in that room, and then there was an administrator, and then one of my other clinical bosses. And the two men, so that's the other thing, it was a white woman and then a white man and a black man. The two men were like, okay, we'll make it possible for you to have somebody else in the room so you don't have conversations on your own. It was the white woman who made the comment about me needing to be an adult and have adult conversations. And so what do you do when somebody is dismissive? Luckily, my clinical boss, who was the black man, he did a good job of holding space for me. In that meeting, though, so I guess when I say he held space, after that, if I needed something or needed to process something, he was there. I also had peer support, so I talked to my peers. But quite honestly, I stopped having meetings with her after that. I had to protect myself.
Sure.
So if she asked me for a meeting, I would just say no. If she needed to talk to me about something, it was on an email. And that way I had a paper trail. So she couldn't just say something to me. But I do think shortly after that is when the investigation with the students started. So I didn't have a lot of window where I just had to deal with her. But it was frustrating.
Sure.
It was also frustrating because instinctually I knew something was wrong. And I think that's what's hard for Black women, right? We can know something's wrong, to your point, but we don't have any evidence. And people don't always believe you. The only reason they went after her was because the students complained.
Not you.
It wasn't just because of me. It was because now APA is accrediting our program, and APA is going to have an issue with her not doing what she's supposed to do. So now we're going to go after you. But it wasn't just because of what she said about me.
I was literally just talking to somebody about, white men versus white women. Now, from a professional standpoint, I find notoriously, well, I don't know. I find a lot of the stories that I'm hearing, the men aren't so much the issue all the time. It's the women. So just from a professional perspective, especially with what you're dealing with, like with mental wellness and all of that. What do you think that's about?
What do I think that's about? Wish I actually knew the answer. I do think there is a competitiveness and a cattiness that happens amongst women. It starts when we're young. It starts when we are, the relational aggression that is so common amongst young girls, teenage girls, and that mean girl, right? That mean girl tendency that I think women have and take with them. So Part of it is that I think the experiences that I've had throughout my life, both personally and professionally, where I've had challenges, are usually women, and it's usually some level of relational aggression that is pointed at me or around me. So I think that's part of it. I think women are more likely to be passive aggressive, whereas I think men will have direct conversations in more situations. I've had a better or not better, easier, more successful time being able to go to a boss and have a direct conversation about a particular issue, whereas with a woman sometimes it feels like you're dancing around things.
When you say relational, what'd you say again?
Relational aggression.
Okay, can you explain what that is?
Sure. It's the gossiping, talking about people behind their back, inviting everybody to an outing except you. Having a group chat and either removing you from the group chat or not inviting you to the group chat. It's those kinds of things. So they're not throwing bows like physical punches, but they're doing things to sort of paint you as the outcast, turning everybody against you. Like this happens, there's a friend group. And now something has happened between you and another friend, and now that friend tries to turn the entire group against you, starts gossiping about you, calling you names behind your back. That's all relational aggression.
Okay. And I'm just curious, the relational aggression that is exhibited toward Black women by white women.
Why is this happening? Why is there relational aggression of white women towards Black women? That's the question. Well, I mean, there is, I think part of this is if we're thinking that is the tool, that is the weapon that we use more frequently than physical aggression. I'm going to give you a really good example.
Okay.
My girl, Jasmine Crockett. I love her. She is amazing. She shows up in a space and she will read people for filth.
Absolutely.
And not only that, she's smart because she doesn't just do things off the top of her brain. She prepares her statement and puts it in front of her. But if you look at the people who are critical of her, often white women, right? Men too, they will not talk about what she's saying. They will say things like, they'll call her names. They'll talk about her wig. They'll say she's reading from a paper. Clearly she's not smart. She's not they don't throw bows. They try to go for the jugular. They try to shake you because relational aggression, if done correctly, will shake you. It'll shake your confidence. It'll shake your steadiness, right? It'll have you doubting yourself. And that's what some white women want Black women to experience because they can't really go toe to toe with them. Do you think somebody could go toe to toe with Jasmine Crockett?
I wouldn't. I
wouldn't either, girl. I would be like, I'm just not even gonna try.
I'm not gonna participate and sit this one out.
No, I know my lane. I'm gonna stay in it.
Yeah.
People don't like her voice. They don't like how smart she is, that she comes prepared, that she will, again, read you for filth. So they try to go for her and shake her confidence, shake her steadiness. And I think that's what white women will do sometimes to Black women because there's no other way to get to them. They don't want Black women to prove that they're smarter than them, that they navigate spaces in a different way, that they show up more colorful, that they show up with more confidence. They want to be able to break that down. And I liken it sometimes to like that idea that like, I'm going to break you down emotionally. I'm going to break you down psychologically because that's the only tool or weapon that I have.
How effective, though, do you think that is?
I mean, I have a lot of Black women sitting in my office. Struggling with confidence, even though they're the smartest women in the whole room, are struggling with imposter syndrome, even though over time I'm like, wait, can we just take a moment and look at your resume? And I mean, high up in the company, the highest role is talking about they're going to figure me out. They're going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I was the girl I was mentioning earlier who's talking about somebody who's a subordinate. And says things to her, and we kind of discussed it. I said, you're suffering from imposter syndrome a little bit, because you're young, because you're in this position, and I said this to her as kind of like an older sister auntie role, because it's like sometimes it takes you years to work through this stuff. I mean, like, I just don't want you. I wish I would have worked through it a lot sooner, because I have been affected by the mind fuckery. I have been affected by the gaslighting and just the little bullshit that they would say. And then you're walking around doubting yourself. I've talked about this before on the podcast when I talk about my own story, having like professional self-worth issues. Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah, I'm all these things, right? But I think it's because of the way we've been conditioned, Yeah. And I had the authors of The Next Little Black Book of Success on the podcast. I don't know when this will air, but a few weeks ago, right? And I was listening to Rhonda Joy McLean was telling a story about how basically her teacher made her, and she's going back to Jim Crow, made her apologize to her class when she was a little girl because they went on a field trip and she spoke to another little white kids in another family, but then spoke to the mom, the parents. So the black teacher made her apologize to her class. And this is back in like the 50s or something like that, right? And are we conditioned to play small? And then that just starts to kind of like eat away at you. So when you get into the workforce and this stuff starts coming at you and you just don't know what to do with it, we're already conditioned sometimes. Not everybody, not all black women, but a lot of us, are. So then you get the very high achieving, super smart, ambitious black women in your chair, in your office, doubting and questioning because, on some level, they do not believe they should be there on some level. Yeah.
There's a narrative that I hear all the time, particularly with my high achieving black women, where when they were young, they were noticeably smart. And so mom, dad, grandma, aunt, whoever raised them, sacrificed all the things to send them to the private school on the other side of town. So all their siblings went to the public school in their neighborhood, but because they were the smart one,
right,
they went to the private school in the other town. And the messaging was, now, I'm going to send you to this private school, but you can't stand out. You've got to blend in because you're going to be the only little black girl in that classroom. And the minute you open your mouth, you say too much, whatever, they're going to notice you and they're going to figure out a way to get you out of there. So you've got to be composed. You've got to be the smartest one. You can't be loud. You can't be aggressive. And that kind of conditioning stays with you. When you're young and you're developing a sense of identity, there's no way that isn't becoming a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And you learn that it's safety because now you've gotten through these really great private schools, and then that led you to the Harvards and the Yales, and then you're in law school, and then, right? So now you're like, well, me being the composed, steady, quiet one is actually getting me somewhere.
Right.
So I'm going to keep doing that. But all the while, you're thinking to yourself, am I supposed to be here? If I speak up, are they going to recognize that maybe I'm not supposed to be? Like that just, you keep questioning over and over and over again. So you're right. That conditioning starts young and it is a narrative I keep hearing over and over and over again. That exact one.
So how do you help your clients, patients get through that? Just because it's so common. I mean, if I hear it one more time, and for so long you think, oh, it's just me. But now we're all vocal. We're talking about it. We're out here getting the help, trying to do the work, peel back the layers, figure out what the hell happened, what's going on.
So you have to, I feel pretty fortunate in my life because I'll tell one little story really quickly.
Sure.
When I was a little kid, I was like seventh grade, so I was at a brand new Catholic school. The Catholic school I went to the first time was in my neighborhood. It was very diverse. Then we switched me to a different Catholic school for academic reasons. Like my parents wanted to challenge me more. And I ended up going to a Catholic school in a very white neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing softball, and softball wasn't my jam, so I wasn't great at it, but I liked it. Yeah. And I was in the outfield and I dropped the ball. And the pitcher, who was this white girl, when I tell you she laid into me on that field, she yelled, she screamed, she told me that I was the worst. I mean, it was bad. Mm-hmm. And I was humiliated. Mm-hmm. I walked off the field looking for my dad because my dad was always at every game, mm-hmm. every practice. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that to me. And I was getting ready to cry. My dad looked at me and said, don't you ever let anybody talk to you like that ever again. Mm-hmm. He didn't comfort me. He gave me the lesson I needed.
Right.
And I took that with me. So I bring that up because one of the things I teach my women is that I know you have a voice. We're going to practice using it. Mm. Because that's part of the conditioning. You've literally been taught not to use your voice. Yeah. And so because you haven't been taught to use your voice, you don't trust it. You trust what you do on paper. Mm-hmm. You trust if you can cite the best legal research or talk about, advertising statistics or be in an architecture space and like cite the correct dimensions. But to use your voice, you don't know how to do that, right? That emotional piece of you. And so I am really big on teaching women to use their voice. I'm also really big on helping women heal and tend to that little girl who didn't get to use her voice because she really wanted to. The little girl who went on the other side of town and had to be the composed one and just wanted to have fun and just wanted to make friends, she still needs soothing. So we got to take care of her too.
And not use it where I'm just about to cuss you all the way up and down, left and right.
Yeah.
And be that type of, have that kind of voice come through. So,
right.
I don't know, like, I think it would be beneficial. I mean, I know we're talking in generalities here, but,
yeah.
To, Black women who went through what you did, like, let's use the example that you just gave, when somebody does talk to you sideways, crazy, come at you like they absolutely have no sense, but they are entitled to do so. Mm-hmm. What do you say?
Yeah, that's hard. Mm-hmm. I'm going to name. Okay. It's hard. Yeah. Because especially when somebody talks at you sideways, you get activated. You get triggered. Right? Mm-hmm. So your instinct is to fight.
Fight or
a lot of
us.
us.
Clean out.
Yes.
But in the workplace, we can't always cuss them out. That's not okay. So. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To pull a Jasmine sometimes because Jasmine be cussing them out without cussing.
We're all not as quick-witted as Jasmine.
I know.
It's always one of those things where you're like, damn, I should have said that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I love that you brought that up because mm-hmm. I think that happens to so many of us. Mm-hmm. In the moment, I want everybody to really hear this. When you get activated to a certain level, your cognitive processing shuts off. So a lot of us go into this space where we're like, oh, I couldn't be quick-witted. I couldn't come with the comeback. It's because your cognitive processing shut off when that person called you a bitch or when that person was like, oh, well, you don't need to be in this meeting. Or like one of my bosses told me, oh, I always thought you were the same, level as this person who's 3 years junior to you, mm-hmm. right? Oh, so then you all get the same salary. It's I'm convoluting that story, but we don't always think quickly because our cognitive processing, we've been activated so high on our threshold that we can't think. Right. So I want us to give ourselves some grace because just because someone said something to you today doesn't mean you can't go back to them tomorrow mm-hmm. and have some words.
Right.
And I think we're sometimes afraid. We think, oh, if I miss the moment, I miss the moment. No, you didn't miss the moment. Mm-hmm. Because mm-hmm. what they said is what they said, and you need to call them to task. Right? So what I would say is take a deep breath. If you feel ready to cuss somebody out, and you don't want to, because sometimes we're ready to cuss them out and just leave. Yeah. But if you feel like you're going to cuss somebody out, take a very deep breath, because that will often bring your nervous system down. Mm-hmm. And then respond. If you still don't feel like you can respond, It is okay if you have to walk away from that moment and respond tomorrow. You can always send somebody a Slack message, an email, grab them in their office. Hey, you have a few minutes? You know, our interaction yesterday has really been sitting with me, and I wanted to see if we could talk about it for a minute. Those are ways you can address it. And I always say document, document, document. Document those moments where somebody says something to you that feels like a microaggression. Document the moments where you want to curse somebody out and maybe you don't, and you have to go back and talk to them later. It's just keeping a log. And in that log, keep the day and the time and the person you had the interaction with. You may never need it, but you might.
And you're documenting it for yourself. You're documenting it for HR. What do you...
Both.
Okay.
If somebody starts, I've had a lot of situations where people talk about a person keeps harassing them or things keep happening in the workplace that are impacting their ability to function, their psychological safety. And then HR or a boss will say, well, what are you talking about? Well, I have my documentation. I interacted with this person on this date and this happened. You just keep a running log. Now, it is your log, but my guess is that other person doesn't have dates and times, and you're more likely to be believed.
Yeah.
It's as opposed to being like, well, 3 weeks ago we had this conversation. No, Tuesday at 2 p.m. when we were around the water cooler, we had this conversation.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that helps you even feel being organized in this way, I think does a lot for you mentally. So what are some of the tools, or what would you say to women? Because there's a lot of self-work that we need to do on ourselves, because when I say we were conditioned early, and everybody talks about it, like get a therapist, you need to do the work. You know, you need to do the work. And a lot of people, I don't know if they even know what the work means. I don't know if they feel like they need to do the work. You know, what are you, because I think when we get vulnerable and we're real honest with each other as Black women, we're honest about how we feel, because you could talk to some women and they'll be like, you know, I don't care. I don't, no. You do care, right? You do care, right?
Yes.
And I'm very honest about that. Like, I have let all kinds of stuff get all up in my head and affect me. But how do you start to, aside from getting a therapist, but just even that self-talk that we need to do with ourselves to kind of, work on this conditioning that we have to shrink and to be quiet and not use our voices?
So I always believe in beginning with awareness. So just to start to notice. We can't really change anything if we don't have data. And anecdotal data is sort of memories. Sure, it's data, but you can't really kind of hang your hat on that necessarily. So I would say start to notice and start tracking, right? Again, I'm really big on just having things to be able to look at and say, okay, over the past 4 weeks, I noticed there were 5 times where I wanted to speak up and I didn't, right? Or there were 5 times where like my partner said something to me and it didn't feel right, but I just didn't say anything, right? So give yourself a time period. Say, okay, over the next month, I'm just going to notice. I'm going to notice times where I don't speak up when I want to. I'm going to notice times where somebody says a comment to me and it just kind of lands funny. Right. I'm going to notice times where I'm so exhausted that I can't, even though I had a great night's rest, I still can't get myself out of bed. Those kinds of things are giving you information. And when you have data, you can do something with it. So start with that, the noticing and the tracking of when you want to use your voice and you don't. After that, I think that we've been conditioned. And so there's a lot of unlearning that people have to do. Tons of unlearning. And it starts with understanding where you've been conditioned. You got to look at what's going on with you historically. Now, there will be some people that will sit with you and will say, history doesn't matter. There will be therapists that will say, it's just about what's going on in the present moment. That's not how I believe this works. You have to like look at the values and the beliefs from your parents and how they raised you or your caregivers. All of that is contributing to what's going on with you as an adult, and you cannot get me to believe anything different. I've been doing this for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
It matters. And so you've got to do that historical look and just take a look back, right? We have a tendency to glamorize things. Oh, I had a great childhood. And then when you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, my mom wasn't ever there because she was working 5 jobs. And so she wasn't always emotionally available for me. But we made sure we had everything that we needed. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not going to knock mom. Your mom was amazing for that. And she didn't emotionally support you. And as a kid, you need that.
Yeah.
It's those kinds of things, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I'm making peace with, those types of things because, I had a great mom too. I mean, was she perfect? No, she's no longer here. I can't tell her about it, but yeah, just acknowledging and making peace with it, I think and I'm not here to tell somebody to not hold on to something or to hold on to something or whatever. I mean, you got to get through it because it took me, my therapist had to tell me, oh, that was trauma, what I went through as a little girl, with the other little white kids in school when I was the only one. I never thought about it as trauma. But then, I'm sitting here trying to figure out what is your problem? How do you end up doing a podcast about this? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I have been dealing with this shit since I was 5, and it's just like, oh, it was very traumatic. And I have reactions to, and people don't think so because, they'll hear the way I talk and I think, oh, you date white men or I thought, think everything's perfect. It's just like, no. I have very real opinions, just don't get it twisted. I'm not.
Don't make me show you that side.
Well, like people get a lot of things twisted on the way you speak. I was raised around white people. This was, as far as my environment, but my parents, super black. They're very, no. We weren't confused. We were not confused, so. No, I think this is a very interesting conversation, because, the parents do the best that they can. They do the best that they can. Not all, there are some people who have some horrible situations, but, because, my parents worked a lot. My mom was not waiting for me at home when I came home. We were alone a lot. Until you just said that. I was just like, and I laugh, and Gen X, I'm Gen X, so Gen X laughs all the time about how we just like raised ourselves. We had a latchkey, and you just had to deal with stuff yourself. You just had to deal with it, Great parents did all the things, but, they were trying to keep us out there where we were, so, and they had to work harder to do that than our neighbors did. So, no, I think that's like a really good perspective. I think a lot of us Black women are really, I feel like, in a lot of pain. I can just tell by the comments that I receive, whether they're just supportive of the conversation or if they're hateful to me and the guests, just some hateful stuff.
Really?
Sometimes you're just like, whoa, you are triggered, and a lot of times I used to want to be like, I like the when you first get started, you want the comments, you want the conversation, but just based on what it is that we deal with as Black women, I just want people to come through and not have to see that. So I'm like, I'm blocking, you're gone. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we go through enough and we don't even realize like some of the stuff that we go through, and especially when you feel like it's like another Black woman on, I'm like, you are so like, I won't tolerate it because I feel like we just deal with so much. But yeah, I feel like we're in so much pain, a lot of us. And you can just tell by the way that people act up in the comments. I really can, so.
What I think is hard about what you're saying too is this is why I think a lot of Black women won't trust and develop friendships and relationships is because you don't necessarily feel protected or safe, even amongst women that look like you. And there is an assumption that, finally I can be amongst other Black women, and you get it and you understand it. So it can feel so painful.
So painful.
When you are hurt in that way by another Black woman. And so I've heard many people say, I just won't do friends. Right? I'm not going to develop relationships because Black women, white women, any woman of any descent can hurt me, and I don't want to be hurt.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation about as I age, one of the things I'm really trying not to do is become bitter, right? My friendships, are very important to me. I have been heartbroken by female friends, by boyfriends, by all the things, so it's you got to make an effort to not become bitter. But, things do happen. There are really shitty people who do shitty things, and maybe they're not shitty. That's the wrong way to look at it. I'm just saying that because, when you're hurt and pissed, you don't, that's the best I can give you. But, obviously they're operating probably from a place of hurt or pain. And I feel sorry for Black women who never find real, genuine friendship in other Black women. Growing up, my mom was very social. I'm very social. I always talk about my best friend who came when I was 10, and she was my first real Black friend. I mean, I had other Black kids I was around and some of the extracurricular activities my mom had me in. But for real, it just was life-changing. But I also did a video talking about how mean we can be to each other. And I stressed about doing that video before I recorded it because I was like, oh God, but I've just like listening or reading some of the comments that people would make. It's just like, girl, something is wrong with you. Like you need to go figure that one out. And just really trying to figure out why you're like that. But I really feel sad for Black women who are never able to find, and I've had comments like that. So it's like I've had comments to saying exactly what you just said about friendships, and it's too bad, because when we are friends or good friends, there is nothing like a Black girlfriend. There is just nothing like that, nothing. So, and those who've cut themselves off or shut themselves down to experience that. And the older you get, it does get more difficult. But, I do believe that I'm always like so excited when I make a friend later in life, but it's just everything. Just even being able to meet the women that I've been able to meet just doing this podcast. Some I know are going to be friends for a long time. And I've only not even doing this for a year, so I feel so sorry for women who aren't able to experience that. But we can hurt each other so bad that I understand.
I don't think that, because there's so many instances that are standing out to me right now. But I remember when I was in high school, I was a good student. I was a good student and I was an athlete. And so when I graduated from high school, I got a ton of awards from the state, from the school. And I remember my best friend at the time, I went to get up to get an award. I've never forgotten this. And this was 1998. So I just gave my age away, but whatever. She said, if you get up one more time, I'm going to trip you. Now, she said it in jest. She thought she was being funny. But I've had comments like that my entire life, where people think, oh, ha ha, funny. But what we're not doing as Black women is we're not checking our own insecurities. And that's where that's coming from. Those kinds of comments are coming from a place of insecurity.
Oh, yeah.
You see somebody doing something and somehow it's triggering something in you. It's triggering a not good enough in you. It's triggering, I haven't done enough with my life. It's triggering, I'm too far behind. Whatever it is. And I wish we could stop for a moment before we open our mouths and say, oh, this is a me thing. This has nothing to do with my friend or this person. I'm not even going to let that cross my mouth. Maybe I'll talk to them at a different time and not say I'm going to trip you, but say, I love your success. Teach me. Right? What have you been doing to get where you are now? Because it's amazing. Like, can you imagine if that was the question versus I'm going to trip you if you get up one more time?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've had people say, why do you call yourself Dr. Mel? You need to tell everybody you're a doctor? Yeah, bitches.
Yeah.
You know how long I went to school for to get this degree?
Absolutely. I would.
Yes.
It's crazy. But yes, absolutely. The level of hate I feel we sometimes have toward one another because there's a problem that you think I have probably that I don't have. It's the way you've projected onto me, you know, like, yeah, I see it. I see it in current friendships a little bit. I have a current friendships. I'm not going to say because, you know, but
people are listening.
people are listening, but I feel it, you know, that low key comparing, that low key, you know, competition. Yeah. You know, I've had some down moments. Okay. I have been not doing well and then I've recovered, you know, so, but you know, people still have a problem, but how about, and maybe we can end on this, if you were to give other Black women some ways that they can check themselves, because, not because, or ways they can check themselves to make sure that they're not what we're talking about, to make sure that they're loving and supporting and like, oh, how do I feel about that? Or do I ever do that? Or do I ever think like that? Do you have anything like that you could give? Because I think, honestly, sometimes we're talking right at you. You're watching this right now, and you just don't know it's you. Or you don't want to know, right? Talking to you, right? Maybe it's not you, but you're watching, right? So what are some ways we can check ourselves to make sure that we're not showing that, call it what kind of aggression it is?
Relational aggression.
Relational aggression towards other Black women. I mean, I can't do anything about these white women, right? But I'm talking to Black women because I want us to be better with each other. So anything that we need to watch out for that maybe we're not realizing we're doing.
And, you know, it goes back to this idea of noticing, right? So I want you to notice how you're feeling amongst your friends when you're with them, when everybody's sitting down and talking about, you know, the person they're dating, the job, the promotion they just got, the grant they just won because they, you know, have been working on a thing. What is your immediate reaction? This is a thing you do for yourself. What's your immediate reaction? Is it, oh, here we go again with this woman? Or is it joy? Because I love my friends and I want to see my friends win. So when my friends announce that they just got promoted, when my friends announce that, like, you know, they just bought their, you know, their vacation home, I'm excited for them. Yes. Right. Not only because your come up means we're all coming up. Absolutely. Right? But because I love to see you win. If you don't love to see your friends win, if you're experiencing what we call envy, now there's a difference between envy and jealousy. Probably don't have time to get into it, but right?
Can you explain? Yeah, please, because I don't think people know.
There is a difference between envy and jealousy. Jealousy is about you, your friend, and another person. I'm afraid I'm going to lose you to another person, right? Same thing with jealousy with a partner. I'm afraid that something's happening that I'm going to lose you, right? There's a thing about loss.
Okay.
Envy is, I wish I had what you had. So I don't think I'm going to lose you, but I want what you have. I wish I had what you have. I'm sad that I'm mad that I don't have what you have. Right? So it's not about losing you. It's about, I want a thing. Whereas jealousy is, I think I'm going to lose you. Right? So you can be jealous of the new friend that comes. If you're partnered with somebody and let's just say you're partnered with a man and they have a new work wife, you might be jealous you're going to lose your partner to that work wife. But if it's your friend and they just bought a vacation home, and you can say, I'm envious. I want a vacation home. I don't think I'm going to lose you to that vacation home, but I want it. So if you notice your friends are telling you things, sharing joy with you, and you feel envy, you're mad, you're like, oh, this woman again, annoyed, that is giving you information about yourself, not your friend. Your friend expects that this is a safe space for her to bring the good, the bad, the ugly, the sideways. And if you are like, you keep telling me about all your wins and it's annoying, that is about you. It has nothing to do with your friend. Let your friend brag. Who else is she going to brag to if not to you?
So then what do they need to do with that information?
Go see why they're having the issue, right? Like, what is it that you're wanting? What isn't that you haven't been acting on that you're not loving? The friend who just went and lost 30 pounds and you're like, oh, that's so great. Have you been wanting to learn? Have you been wanting to lose 30 pounds? Yeah. Have you been wanting to try the GLP-1s and you don't want to? And now your friend has lost 40 pounds and you're like, this bitch thinks she's all that because she lost all this weight. Good for her. She did what she wanted to do to lose that weight. Why aren't you doing what you want to do?
Right.
So you need to, when you find that you're feeling that, go check and see what is it that you've been wanting to do, you've been working on, you've been striving for or not striving for, but you wish you were. Where is the deficit with you that is making you feel envious or mad at that other person? Because it's all about you. It's not about them. Not if they're just sharing their accomplishments with you.
So true. So true. Well, this has been great. That is some good stuff. I always say, well, somebody told me this. It's like, if something they said is getting to you and whatever triggers you, it's like a mirror being held up to your face. And you've got to figure out what about you that is bothered. Why are you bothered by it? It's all about you. It's not about them. But a lot of us don't do these exercises. But fortunately, we're becoming, I feel, I'm you can tell me, but I believe that, and maybe I think this because my circles are becoming more, but I feel like Black people are becoming more comfortable with the mental health care space. Yeah.
It's getting better. There's not as much stigma. There's a lot more public speaking. And I think it helps that like the bigger names in the media and celebrities are also very openly talking about their own mental health journeys. And so that then gives people permission.
Yeah. Well, this has been really, really good, Dr. Mel. Dr. Mel, tell us, is there anything you want to share with us? You want to tell people anything you want to share? Tell us where we can find you, how people can receive services from you since you can work in 40 states. That's amazing.
So I'm on all socials. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, IG, and TikTok, but it's the same handle across the board. I am Dr. Mel, so DRMEL. I also have a website, iamdrmel.com. So that lists all the different ways you can work with me, including there's a link to my therapy practice. I have a group practice. So even if you can't work with me, I have amazing clinicians, Black women that all work with me. And also I have my newest thing that I'm putting out, because we talked a little bit about unlearning here, is my unlearning sessions. And so these are short-term 3 sessions where you sit with me in a group format, and we pick one particular thing that we are going to work on unlearning in an intensive format. So you really come in. This first one that's coming up is about unloading our executive functioning, because we all take on way too much, especially as high-achieving women. And when we unload, we're able to make decisions that we've been avoiding and putting off that actually will shift our lives. So that first 3 sessions is about that. So I'm going to be doing these throughout the year, probably once per quarter, where it's an intensive with me, where we do unlearning.
Is that like a group thing?
It is a group. It is a group format. There are opportunities for you to work with me one-to-one after the core, like 3 intensive sessions, but we start in a group format because I personally want to work on reaching more people. There's a ceiling to how many one-to-one sessions I can do.
Sure.
So this allows me to reach other people. Also, we heal in community. We do not heal in isolation. And I know people don't love group formats, but I'm telling you, there's healing when you're doing it in community.
I love a group. I love a group. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well, that sounds amazing. Actually, I know who I need to pass that along to somebody who was just saying they need to unlearn some stuff. So
Please send them my way.
I absolutely will. I will. Well, guys, this has been great. Dr. Mel has really given us some things to work on, some ways to check ourselves, some good nuggets on how to really become emotionally better. And obviously, if this isn't enough, you can get more of Dr. Mel. I'm going to put all this stuff in the comments. I'm not in the comments, in the description, and then the show notes on Spotify and all of the things. So amazing. I guess that's it. So thank you so much, Dr. Mel. We really appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you in the next episode. All right.